Okay, let's talk about engineering our ethics. We're going to start with a truly bizarre, deadly flood of molasses. Yeah, molasses. And somehow we're going to connect that sticky disaster from the 20th century to the biggest challenge we face today, the ethics of AI. So, how in the world are those two things related? Well, let's find out. All right, so let's set the scene. Picture this. It's a super weirdly warm January day in Boston, way back in 1919. And in the city's north end, there's this absolutely massive storage tank, right? It's 5 stories tall, a total landmark in this industrial part of town. But nobody knew that what was inside was about to cause an absolute catastrophe. So what was in it? Well, the tank was filled to the absolute brim with 2.3 million gallons of crude molasses. And then, just without any warning, the steel walls of this thing just gave up. You could hear it groaning, and then, bam, it just bursts apart in a single instant. And what happened next was literally a sticky brown tsunami. We're talking about a wave of molasses, maybe 25 feet high, just roaring through the streets at an insane 35 miles per hour. I mean, think about that. It was so powerful, it was smashing buildings and tossing cars and wagons around like they were just toys. And this wasn't just some weird, quirky industrial accident. No, this was a deadly, deadly disaster. When that thick, awful wave finally settled, 21 people were dead, and another 150 were injured. The Great Molasses Flood, it really went down in history as one of the strangest, but also one of the most tragic events in American history. But here's the thing. What if this wasn't just some random freak accident? What if it was actually part of a much bigger, much more disturbing pattern? To see what I mean, we've got to zoom out and look at what else was happening around that time. See, the molasses flood, it didn't just happen in a vacuum. The decades leading up to it were just filled with these horrific engineering failures. I mean, you had the Ashtabula River Railroad Bridge collapsing in a blizzard, 92 people dead. Then there's the Tay Bridge in Scotland, which just gives way during a storm, plunging a whole train with 75 people on board right into the river. And get this, the Quebec Bridge? It collapsed not once, but twice during construction, killing 75 workers. These weren't isolated incidents. They were all symptoms, signs that something was fundamentally broken in the world of engineering. So when you see this string of disasters, one after the other, it makes you ask a really critical question, right? Was this just bad engineering? Did they just not have the right math or the right materials back then? Or was there something deeper going on? Well, when investigators started digging into all of these disasters, including the molasses flood, they uncovered a really shocking and very consistent truth. The root of the problem, it wasn't just technical. No, the investigations all pointed to one single, inescapable conclusion. The problem wasn't a lack of skill or knowledge, it was a lack of responsibility. At its very heart, this was a failure of ethics. And this ethical failure, it showed up in so many ways. Like in Boston with the molasses tank. The company knew for years that it was leaking. And you know what they did? They just painted it brown so no one would see the stains. Can you believe that? With the bridges, there were clear warning signs that were just ignored. In one case after another, public safety was just thrown out the window for profit and for speed. The lesson was becoming painfully, tragically clear. It's not enough to be a brilliant engineer. You have to be an ethical one too. So all of these tragedies piling up one after another, they became this massive wake-up call for the entire engineering profession. Everybody realized something had to change, and not just their math or their blueprints, but their entire culture. And in response, all the big professional engineering organizations, groups like the ASC and ASME, they all came together, and they created something brand new for their field, formal written codes of ethics. This was basically them making a direct promise to the public, saying, okay, we get it. Your safety will never again take a backseat to our profits or our deadlines. And these codes, they really boiled down to a few core, powerful commitments that directly tackled all those past failures. First, and this is the big one, public safety first. You have to hold the safety, health, and welfare of the public as the absolute #1 priority. Everything else comes second. Step 2, be honest. Be realistic in all your claims and all your estimates. 3, reject corruption. No bribery, period. And finally, #4, act with integrity.
That means avoiding conflicts of interest and treating everybody fairly. This wasn't just some nice list of suggestions, you know? This became the brand new foundation for the entire profession. Okay, so what does a story about collapsing bridges and a 100-year-old molasses flood have to do with us, right here, right now? Well, that lesson, a lesson forged in steel and, yes, molasses, has become absolutely critical as we face our own massive technological revolution.
It's because those exact same principles, safety, honesty, responsibility, they apply right now to the invisible world of code and algorithms. Today, we're the ones building the future. We are the engineers of artificial intelligence. And the stakes, they're just as high, maybe even higher. Right now, we are standing at a crossroads, and we're building one of two possible futures with AI. On one path, if we're guided by a strong ethical code, AI can be this incredible tool for fairness, for safety, for respecting human rights. But the other path, well, without that ethical guidance, we risk creating biased systems that violate our privacy, that eliminate jobs unfairly, and put way too much power in the wrong hands. The choice of which path we go down, it's up to us. When you get right down to it, it's really this simple. Just like ethics was needed to make sure our bridges wouldn't fall down, a new code of ethics is needed right now to make sure our most powerful technology serves all of humanity, instead of harming it. And that really leaves us with the defining question of our time, doesn't it? A leaky molasses tank taught us a hard lesson that innovation without responsibility leads to disaster. So, as we sit here today, building the intelligence of the future, the question we all have to answer is, how do we make sure that this time we get it right?